Check. Yep. So there. Uneducated. Intro simple. I need to start Facebook's. 1, 2. Check. Go live. Wow, that was a lot of fun. Really enjoy this. It's always Chinese. Am I allowed to say Chinese fire drill?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, just checking. Intro in 3, 2, going.
We're live on YouTube.
Yep, we're live on Facebook, and we're running our intro. And in 2 seconds, you'll see our beautiful faces. 2, 1, go, and we're here.
All right, so this is Uneducated. It's Friday, June 4th, and this is not Memorial Day weekend. That was last weekend.
That was last weekend.
Man, time flies.
It's it's going quick.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it flies that quick. All right, so this is Uneducated, and we are going to, in the next couple of months, we're going to be starting a brand new channel for our Uneducated videos. And that new channel...
Hey.
What?
You want to talk on the microphone?
I forgot. Sorry.
I'm like, I can't hear you.
So, okay, so this is Uneducated. It is June 4th, and it is not Memorial Day weekend. It just feels like it never happened, like this past week never happened. It just flew by.
Yeah.
So, but just to give you some quick updates, our Uneducated channel, brand new channel, we've just posted it, put it up. So we want you to go there and make sure you find it, make sure you subscribe to it, and then you'll get all of our Uneducated stuff as we start loading it up to there in the coming months, because we will be actually transitioning from the church channel to its own dedicated Uneducated channel. So make sure that you're following the links, and we'll put a link in for that down below. We'll get that to you so that you can go ahead and link and like it and share it. So if you are on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe and make sure you like and share our videos. That is, of course, if you like them and share them. Secondly, on Facebook, make sure, and everybody knows this, but for whatever reason, the powers that be have a way of determining whether your videos get out there and the content gets to other people. And one of the ways that happens is that when you like and you share, then more people get to see our content. So if you'll help us out with that, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That it?
I think you covered all the bases. There's a lot of important information there that I wasn't paying attention to. So.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. Today we're going to talk about the growing concern for technology that is in our airspace by our government. The government now is concerned. The CIA has been opening up investigations. So all the weirdies that used to see lights in the sky, and they were the people that, the dregs of society that you don't want anything to do with, the people that were supposedly abducted by aliens, the weirdos, now all of a sudden the government is saying, no, that stuff was real, is real, and we need to figure out what it is, because if they're something from another planet, then, of course, the vibe out there is that they're probably bad and wanting to take us over. But if it's military intelligence from another country, then it's just as bad because, of course, then they can take us over as well. So we're going to talk about that today. But the problem is that when the world talks about UFOs and aliens, they can only talk about it from a physical perspective. But in the Bible, it's very clear that there is a spirit realm. And the spirit realm can move from dimension to dimension. And oftentimes within that spirit realm, we see that the enemy of our souls is constantly trying to bring about our destruction. So if you go all the way back to Genesis, gentlemen, you see that that's the first time we enter into this idea of a spiritual being, and that's the serpent in the Garden of Eden. So from Genesis through Deuteronomy to Ezekiel, you've got all these thoughts and these ideas of spirit beings that are crossing dimensions. They're going from the spirit realm into the physical realm and back and forth. And so my thought is that when we discuss today about this whole UFO and alien thing, that we talk about the spirit realm, because I think if you're going to talk about UFOs and aliens, you almost have to talk about the spirit realm.
Yeah, I agree completely.
All right. So let's start with this then. today now the government is no longer calling them UFOs. They're calling them UAPs. That's unidentified aerial phenomenon. So they're not unidentified flying objects. They're aerial phenomenon. Why do you think they're?
Why did we have to change the name?
Why do you think?
Well,
I have a thought.
We've wrecked UFO.
Okay, because that's for the weirdos.
It's for the weirdos. It's for the movies. You now need a new term so that you can reset what we think about it, right?
Right.
So when you say UFO, it conjures up all the movies all the way back to the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
When you say UAP, you go, what's that?
Yeah.
So now we redefine it.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah, and the government can go, hey, this is our gig now. It's not the weirdos' gig, and we're going to shape it however we want to shape it.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting.
Just smart.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's like they know how to brain message.
Yeah. Okay.
MK Ultra. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
Right.
So okay, so I think it was 2 Sundays ago, 60 Minutes had a special, and they were interviewing one of the pilots that had seen a UFO.
And let's just be clear. Overnight, we're in a world where they're like, no, we have stuff from other planets.
Yeah.
So, to about 4 months ago, you're making stuff up.
Right.
No, there's stuff in the sky that's attacking our stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
That we now live in a world where we have UFO. That's why you can't say UFO. You have to say UAP because
Okay.
your mind just turns it off.
Yeah.
The stuff exists.
Right.
Okay.
So there has always, for a long time, there have always been these retired generals from the military that have said these things exist, but nobody's done anything. Now all of a sudden you've got a pilot, and then you've got a guy who was the head of one of the biggest military, branches to kind of follow this stuff and determine this stuff. Now he's coming out talking about it. Now you have the CIA director right now who is going to give a report. They said either this week or next week. So when they give that report, they're going to talk about all of these episodes that have supposedly happened. And so as they're doing this now, they are saying that these objects are flying at like 13 to 18,000 miles an hour. They have no seeming, there's no propulsion, they can't see anything coming. There's no wings. And they not only can go from outer space to our solar, our atmosphere, but they've also seen these things
Go in the ocean.
Go in the ocean.
Which, just so you know, this is William Cooper, Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah, the guy that was killed or died.
Yeah, the guy that died
Yeah.
being shot at his house. Yeah.
Have you ever read that book, Brandon?
Behold the Pale Horse. I think that's it.
I used to have a copy.
I have
of
a
it.
copy of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe that's where maybe I borrowed it or
So
something.
it's a
Yeah.
good book.
It's technical.
He wrote it in 91. And he's talking about all these things from MK Ultra to his time in the Navy that, yeah, we see this stuff all the time. And it's almost like, I don't want to make it like the movie Conspiracy Theory, and they made a big deal of Catcher in the Rye. It's that kind of book. Like it was a primer. It was Alex Jones before Alex Jones. That was your outlet to go find the talk about what we're talking about on YouTube every day now. You would read William Cooper. Yeah, that's how old that is.
But he was somehow killed by.
He had an altercation where they called him out to his house, robbery, or there was some kind of weird whatever, and he ends up getting shot. Yeah.
Just by happenstance.
Just weird incident, and now he's dead now.
And yet, if you watch some of his lectures, and I think you can go on YouTube and watch some of his lectures still, where he talks about
Yeah.
stuff. But you could see he was a little freaked out about the fact that he might die.
Yeah, and everything that he was in his book, it didn't exist, and it existed in his book that we all now talk about today.
That exists.
It's just what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
Crazy.
died. He died for the thing that everybody talks about on YouTube today.
Yeah.
And we all know it's fact.
Right.
Yeah. And now aliens are fact. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. So, so here's the first thing I want us to kind of just jump into, and that's this. So these objects, according to the military, are physical objects. They are moving at phenomenal
Speeds.
speeds, no propulsion.
G-force is unreal. Like, we have no idea.
Which technically would kill somebody probably if they were in the vehicle.
You'd
unless,
splatter like a bug.
Yeah, unless there was something in there preventing that.
Right.
Right. So obviously...
And travel through any medium.
Yeah.
Water, air, space.
Right. So the military is looking at this, and the world now, and the media is looking at this and saying somebody has a technology that's other world or something, and we don't have. I tend to think that it's a deception because it's not necessarily technology. I think it's spiritual that's happening.
I agree.
Real quick, let's run this clip from Hugh Ross, and then I want to talk about whether or not you guys think it's physical, non-physical. And we'll just run maybe the first few minutes of it until we get to a point. And then, Matt, if there's a point where you want to break, or Brandon, if you hear something,
somebody jump in.
then we'll just jump in and we'll stop it.
We'll do this and this.
Strange people with big heads and weak bodies and E.T. calling home and so forth. Well, how has this spread so widely in our society?
Well, millions of people claim to have had encounters with UFOs. And the vast majority you can explain as simply natural phenomena or human activity or a hoax. But there's a 1% residual that actually you can show is real but not physical. Now, I had Carl Sagan as a professor briefly when I was at the University of Toronto, and he denied UFOs totally. That's because his worldview did not permit the existence of non-physical reality.
That's Carl Sagan would be another name that was very early on, formed SETI. Mm-hmm. And so they've been looking for extraterrestrial life for decades and decades. Right. And so I didn't realize that. I found this interesting. That was his professor for a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wasn't a Christian.
No, Carl said no.
Okay.
No.
All right.
Oh, neither was Hugh Ross. Yeah, you're right.
You're right. Well, he is now, though.
He is now.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
As a Christian, I realized God created two different species of intelligent beings. Humans that are physical and real, and angels that are real but not physical. And when you examine this 1% residual of the UFO sightings, you see that they consistently violate the laws of physics, but nevertheless you can prove they're real. For example, there are literally hundreds of places where UFOs have crashed into the ground. You go to the site, the ground is depressed, vegetation is damaged, snow is melted if there's snow that's there. Obviously something real happened there, but there's no debris, there's no artifacts. And when the UFO is observed coming through the atmosphere, let's say 18 to 25,000 miles per hour, no sonic boom, no heat friction. If it was a physical object, you would get a sonic boom and heat friction, and there would be debris at the crash site. So we're dealing with something that obviously is real, but it's not physical. And I'm not the only physicist that's saying this. I know of a half dozen other physicists and astronomers who are not believers who draw the same conclusion that I do, that whatever is behind the occult and witchcraft and demonology is also behind this residual of the UFO encounter.
Residual.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we want to go with this, right?
Yeah, let's stop it there for a second.
Okay.
And then we'll jump in when it comes to abduction stuff. Okay, so what do you guys think? Because obviously Roswell, the pictures we see, whether they're real pictures or not, seem to have debris of like pieces, and supposedly they took pieces of this aircraft back to the base here in Ohio, and those pieces are, what's that? Dayton, yeah.
And not NASA Glenn?
I think it was Hangar 54.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah. So they supposedly brought that back.
Maybe.
But I like what he says, because when you see on TV or you hear people's description of these things, no propulsion, they're moving through totally fast, and they're usually light objects. Like all they see is the light. Like I got a feeling that a lot of this stuff is demonic entities or spiritual entities moving in and through our atmosphere for some reason, and we're catching them. But what are your guys' thoughts on the physical, non-physical part?
I think it could be both.
Yeah.
You think they are physically manifest in our dimensions? Like you could touch them?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Here's the question I have, though. If an entity like that, why would they need some kind of a craft to move?
It could be just how they're traveling.
Yeah.
What if they are the craft?
That's interesting.
What if that's their demonic wings
I wonder.
and they hit the ground and then they're
Yeah, it's possible.
That's the thing. You ultimately don't know if it's bad or good. I mean,
I'm gonna say it's bad. I'm gonna just leap right out there and say it's bad. I'm convinced.
yeah.
It's gonna take quite a bit to make them not bad in my mind.
Right.
I mean, space is so vast. I mean, who knows what's out there?
So that takes us back to what Manly said a couple weeks ago. If you go along with what Manly said, that it's almost foolish to think that a God who created us and who created all these all these universes, that he hasn't created something else somewhere out there. Is it still possible in your guys' mind for that?
I'm fine with it,
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm fine with that too.
but I don't think they come here.
right.
I don't think we know what that is. Because
It'd just be like us going there, wherever there would be.
Well, not to mention,
but that ain't happened either.
It's getting there.
like, let's face it, when we went to the moon, supposedly, right? If we did go to the moon,
Right.
when we went to the moon, what did we do? We got there and we landed. We didn't like circle around the moon for like 300 years to figure out whether there was somebody down there that we should go talk to, right?
Well, because there isn't anybody there. We
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
what we would do if there was somebody there.
And our technology wasn't there.
I guess I feel
I hear you.
my gut instinct on this is if it was supposed to happen, if it was something outside the Bible and whatever, somehow God would tell us about it. We would have to know about it.
Yeah, I would think.
Because to me this very easily interjects doubt. Like inevitably where we're going to move forward from here is, oh, there is no God. See, it's just been people from outer space. And we move into and this is where the globalists want us to go, where we just move into Starship Federation, right? And there's no God, it's just beings, and they're alive for when they're alive and they're dead when they're dead. And we politicize space with the Federation, and it's Star Wars / Star Trek, and it's humanism from there. We
Right.
can do whatever we want as humans. Then they get their way finally.
Yeah.
I don't think God wants that muddy line.
Right.
I think he's always told us, I am who I am, and this is how it goes.
Yeah.
And because he didn't say, and you'll be visited by people from another planet, it's not happening.
Yeah.
I think you rule that out. I'm not saying they don't exist.
Right.
I'm saying within God's initial plan in that Bible, they don't come here.
Yeah.
We might find out about that after he comes back and takes us up, and our minds, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, our minds are going to be blown
Right.
with what we see, who we meet, where we can go, what can happen.
Right.
But it's not for now.
Yeah.
So for right now, we're dealing with, in my opinion, the world we know with human beings. Satan is banished here as the ruler of this earth,
Right.
and we're dealing with those ingredients.
Yeah. And Satan somehow is interdimensionally walking back and forth between those two realms, getting ready to deceive
Well,
us, I think.
it's like Ghostbusters. The more evil their hearts became in New York, the more the ghosts were allowed to be exposed.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Let's go get us a ghost.
We can get a ghost.
Brandon, what's your thoughts? Anything else on that?
No, I don't think you could deem something evil if you really don't know about it.
Yeah. Just pull that mic closer to your mouth when you're talking. You don't have to. Yeah. Just yeah. Well, here's the thing.
When they come to say hello, we'll send you out.
Well,
You
I'm
go
not
say
saying I
you go
wouldn't
say
be-
hi.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be scared, but
Yeah. I know
saying.
where you're
Just-
at.
Well, here's what.
space is
Yeah.
pretty vast.
Yeah. No, I get it. But here's what I think Matt's getting at too, and this is what I'm somewhat concerned about, or my thoughts are, and that's this: that for about the last 100 years, after the Enlightenment period and everything that's going on, the whole Industrial Revolution and science is king, and the humanism and naturalism that says we can't know anything unless it's through empirical formation, science, and unless it's physical, it doesn't exist. And they totally try to debunk anything spiritual. The God of the Bible, everything within these pages is spiritual. God is always interacting, crossing from his dimension of spirit into our dimension and dealing with us in history. And I think what's going to happen is these people, whether they finally claim that they're spiritual or they're from another realm, the deception is going to be that these people are here to either help us, or there's going to be some kind of a strange war that's going to take place, that it's going to create a new atmosphere for us to have some new leadership like Antichrist. However it goes, I think it's the deception that's coming. And so I think there is a non-physical entity out there that is trying to, whether or not there's physical beings out there, which may be, I think at this point, I think we're living in a world where the non-physical, the spiritual part is starting to interact with the physical world. And I think that's what people are starting to see. I think it's interesting that he made the comment, Hugh Ross, and we can go back there and grab it if we want, but I think if we go just a little longer, he'll talk about it some more. But he made the comment about the occult.
Yes.
And when people are in the occult, they tend to have these experiences, these abduction experiences, these ideas. I oftentimes wondered, because I always look at the skies, and ever since I was a little kid, I was like, why haven't I ever seen anything like this? Now, I'm not saying that it's because God was protecting me or because I was not God's child when I was 18, 17 years old. I was out sinning like a banshee. But now that I've known Christ, like, I just wonder sometimes if certain people aren't open to these things because they're either lost in their sin or they are dabbling in the occult. So that realm is opening up to them.
So if you see spacecraft or an alien,
then you're
probably not saved.
Yeah, I know. That's the wrong attitude. I know.
Yeah, I don't think that.
No.
Because
I know.
a lot of people see the same thing.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Phoenix lights.
Yeah, right.
I mean, thousands of people saw that.
Right. But I just wonder if...
Is that where they were lining up?
Yeah.
That still happens.
And that one over Israel, did you see that one?
Where it's like, phew, and then it goes down.
Shot up or whatever, shot down. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, we have it on phones now at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that looked more spiritual to me versus a alien craft.
Right. Okay, so physical, non-physical, I think the deception is going to be that they're going to play it off as physical, but I think it's going to be a spiritual deception. I think these are spiritual entities that are coming to set up Antichrist. But we'll find out. We'll see. All right, so my next gig is this. I want to talk a little bit about the abduction thing, because there are a lot of people that say they were abducted by aliens. I think it may have had to do with either a spiritual thing, like demonic things happening, or possibly even like MK Ultra, which we'll talk about in a second. But Hugh Ross deals with this here in the next couple minutes.
Did you want to go to minute 7?
Just let it. I mean, it's good. Whatever he says is good. So we can let it run if you want.
All right.
It's totally up to you.
So let me do...
I mean, it's only a few extra minutes. But.
Well, what do angels do? What do you think? Why isn't there some evidence of their presence?
Well, because I mean, there is evidence. I'm saying that there's clear evidence that something real is happening. And there's evidence that it's not physical. They violate the laws of physics, so it's non-physical reality. Jacques Vallée, who is not a believing UFO investigator, says it's interdimensional phenomena. He believes there are beings operating in dimensions beyond the universe, which is very compatible with what the Bible says about angels and demons.
Tell me about
we
what
stop that
would
for
an
a second?
angel do? I mean, you know.
Okay, I have a Wikipedia thing up there. I don't know if you see that, but there is something known as interdimensional hypothesis. And can you read that,
The
Matt?
interdimensional hypothesis, IDH or IH, is an idea advanced by ufologists such as Jacques Vallée that says unidentified flying objects, UFOs, and related events involve visitations from other realities or dimensions that coexist separately alongside our own. It is not necessarily an alternative to the extraterrestrial hypothesis, ETH, since the two hypotheses are not mutually exclusive, so both could be true simultaneously. IDH also holds UFOs are a modern manifestation of a phenomenon that has occurred throughout recorded human history, which in prior ages were ascribed to mythology and supernatural creatures.
Okay.
No,
So-
that's fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. And these guys are not believers, from my understanding. And then you go down the different routes. So there's always the first encounter of the kind, second encounter, third encounter, fourth encounter. Now there's something known as the fifth encounter. And the fifth encounter is really interesting because a guy by the name of Dr. Greer, who's been studying this for a long time, he was an emergency room doctor, and now he's got his whole thing. I think his site is actually SETI, but it starts with a C, so CSETI.
Okay.
So he kind of stole SETI
Yeah.
for his own. But he's got groups of people that he takes out in the desert, and they are teaching people how to transcendental meditation, in order to communicate and actually call these beings into space. So these people literally, supposedly, have been out there in the desert. They have video of this, although the video is always grainy, which I don't quite understand how we have that technology we have, and it's always still grainy. But they have video of these people sitting out there meditating, and then all of a sudden these lights start to appear in the sky. So this is the next encounter then that they're going after. So what Hugh Ross is talking about there is that there is a group of people that are not believers, but they are literally almost like an occult, like the occult, this demonic thing. They are trying to communicate with these entities, and they believe that they're interdimensional, that they're not from another planet. They're actually from another dimension. And they're doing it through mental telepathy, ESP, that kind of weird stuff.
That proves it right there. It's the Ouija board is a cool game by Milton Bradley until you start inviting things into your bedroom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it proves it. I know exactly what you're saying, but I don't think this is why I'm saying I have this dividing line where I don't think we're going to know about that right now. And what we're working with is stuff that's here. Mm-hmm. And when you start sitting in the desert and channeling things and they show up, yeah.
See, like that, I think that's a different realm, maybe.
It is.
That's what we're. Well, but it's the spiritual realm, and it's not the good things.
Yeah. Versus the crafts.
Because you're not supposed to play with Ouija boards. You're not supposed to channel other beings.
Right.
You just don't, and that's why we'll go back to the drug thing. The drug experience, where we were talking a little bit earlier, you think you're finding spirituality, and hopefully for your soul, somewhere in that, God's protecting you.
Right.
Because you are opening a door that will crush you.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And here's the thing. So you've got two things going on. You've got a group of people that are looking at interdimensional stuff, and these are science-minded people. You've got the military who says, oh, this is a physical craft, that there's technology that we don't know, we don't have. So all of this is deception, and none of this wants to look at the God of creation. None of this wants to look from a biblical perspective and say, who is the good guys, who are the bad guys, and what exactly is happening or going on here. So just real quick, I think I have it on there. Ezekiel chapter 1, Matt. If we can pull that up real quick, and then we can go back to the abduction thing because we didn't get there yet. But Ezekiel chapter 1, do I have that in my Logos? I think I pulled up Logos on there somewhere. Maybe I didn't.
I don't see it, Brian.
Go down to see the bottom there, Logos? The blue blue with the... did that pull up somewhere?
Yep, hold on.
I should be able to share that.
All right.
Okay, that's Ezekiel chapter 1, right?
Yep.
Okay, let me... now I got to find it because I'm not prepared. But Ezekiel chapter 1 is talking about this, what some people say, like on Ancient Aliens, if you ever watch Ancient Aliens.
With the guy who looks like he's always stoned.
Yeah, they say, and with the hair, he's got really good hair, whatever you call that.
Does he?
I don't know what you call that.
It looks like he woke up.
Yeah, but he's talking, Ezekiel's talking about this vision that he's having, and he's having this vision during the 13th year on the 5th day of the 4th month while he was by the river Chebar among the exiles. And the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. So the heavens, so this is obviously, he's looking up into the sky, this thing's coming down, And then he says this, the word of the Lord came expressly to Ezekiel. Now, this is what's interesting. Anytime the word of the Lord, we see in John, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Many times when the prophets would get a message, it was the word of the Lord came to him. Now, it's interesting that it might not just be a voice. It may actually be God himself incarnate in the person of Christ when the word of the Lord shows up to tell him something. But we're not going to get into that. But look at what he says. Verse 4. As I looked, behold, a storm wind was coming from the north, a great cloud with fire flashing forth continually, and a bright light around it. And in its midst something like glowing metal in the midst of the fire. Within it there were figures resembling 4 living beings, and this was their appearance, and they had human form. Each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight, and their feet were like a calf's hoof, and they gleamed like burnished bronze. Under their wings on their 4 sides were human hands. As for the faces of wings of the 4 of them, their wings touched one another. Their faces did not turn when they moved. Each went straight forward. As for the form of their faces, each had the face of a man. All 4 had the face of a lion on the right, and the face of a bull on the left, and the 4 had the face of an eagle. All 4 had the face of an eagle. Such were their faces. Their wings were spread out above. Each had 2 touching another being and 2 covering their bodies. Now, let's just stop there real quick. There's a lot more to this description, but here's the thing. So automatically, people want to say that Ezekiel is talking about a physical craft, some kind of a spacecraft, so that the ancient aliens can say, we were visited by these ancient aliens, not interdimensional, but ancient aliens, and this is what Ezekiel was visited by, was an ancient alien. However, when you look at this language and you go to Revelation, and I'm not sure if I have Revelation on there, but if you want to look at Revelation 4, chapter 4, I want you to hear the description of Revelation chapter 4. Because Revelation chapter 4 describes the throne of God.
And I just want to throw in there
Yeah.
my new hypothesis that the craft and the being are one is making a lot of sense.
It is making a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thought. So Revelation 4, starting in verse 5. Out from the throne came flashes of lightning and sounds and peals of thunder. Doesn't that sound like a storm coming from the north? So Ezekiel said there was a storm coming from the north. It says here, out from the throne came flashes of lightning and sounds of peals of thunder. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. So these lights that are burning around the throne of God are actually his spirits, 7 spirits of God that are burning around the throne. And then it says, before the throne, there was something like a sea of glass, like crystal. And in the center, what's wrong? Are we good?
Bob Westover says, one just went by me.
He must be doing something that he shouldn't be. Is he have a Ouija board there?
All right.
So verse 6 of Revelation 4, and before the throne there was something like a sea of glass like crystal, and in the center and around the throne 4 living creatures full of eyes in front and behind. The first creature was like a lion, and the second creature like a calf, and the third creature had the face like of a man, and the fourth creature was that of a flying eagle. This description of the throne of God is the same description of Ezekiel. And so what Ezekiel...
situations.
What's that?
2 different situations.
Yes, but Ezekiel, what is Ezekiel seeing here? If you look at Revelation, Ezekiel is seeing...
but then he's seeing the good guys.
Yeah, Ezekiel is seeing the throne of God coming down.
Right.
The throne of God is coming down to speak with Ezekiel. And that's what he's seeing. God is on his throne, and he's coming down to Ezekiel. That's the description here from Revelation 4 and Ezekiel 1. And when you look at that, it's really clear that this is not a spacecraft. This is God coming down with his spirits around him and his throne. Now, if you look at the iconography of like Babylonian iconography and Egyptian iconography, you'll see that the thrones of kings oftentimes were represented, and they would have wheels on the bottom of their thrones. And many times that was in order to move their thrones around more easily. But they had wheels on the bottom of their thrones. But they also had, as the legs would come up, they would have the faces of these different animals around the corners of the thrones.
And wings.
And wings.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From that one movie I've seen. Thing with wings. Never mind.
Night at the Museum? No.
What was
Don't
is
they
it Brandon
say-
Fraser? What's the one with the The Mummy. The Mummy. Mummy?
There's a movie called The Mummy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
And they go back into his past, and the kings have like giant wings. And I think Charlton Heston movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably. Yeah. Why not?
It's an Egypt thing.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing.
Brandon, you got a thought on that scripture text?
I was just thinking, don't they said something about Satan waiting like a lion
In
somewhere
Peter.
in Peter.
Yeah. So here's one of the things. Oftentimes you'll see this this contrast between good and evil, and oftentimes, like for instance, Satan roars around like a lion, seeking to devour people. Yeah. But then also Jesus is called the Lion of Judah. So Satan, in one sense, is a lion, meaning he's looking to devour you. Christ is a lion in the sense that he is the king of all things, and he's powerful. And he does. So you see this contrast throughout the scriptures where sometimes the same terminologies will be used.
They're both lion representing both power.
Yeah. But in different senses, yeah. Right. He's trying to devour. Christ is king, conquering king. And in that, he has different representations. So when you look at this, I guess the reason I wanted to bring up Ezekiel is that people are trying to say this is a physical manifestation of an alien spacecraft. I think it is a spiritual representation of the throne of God coming down, according to Revelation chapter 4. So I think what Ezekiel's seeing here is a spiritual thing, not a physical thing.
What if what if these are good guys? What if these are God's angels? And because we're so in love with the world,
Yeah.
we're freaked out by it. So we're calling them demons.
It's possible.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think this is where the great deception is going to be.
Yeah.
Because Paul even said, if even an angel comes to you and declares a different gospel, he should be accursed.
But nothing's.
Nothing's talked to us yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But what's the
We need to-
Jodie Foster?
We need to get a memo
Yeah.
to Washington
Right.
to make sure that they know. First thing you ask isn't like we come in peace or where do you stand on Jesus?
Right.
Then we'll know right off.
Yeah.
Get your guns or let's get a picnic lunch. We're gonna sit
Yeah.
down.
Or if you're Catholic, you baptize them.
Yeah, we'll baptize them
Baptize them. That's what you need to do.
if they donate to the church.
Yeah. Because then it doesn't matter what they do, as long as they give their money. And we're not talking just Catholic either. We're talking Nazarene Baptist. As long as they give their money,
Right? Yeah, we'll
It's
take
good
it
to
all. All right.
because we got to pay
Are we
budgets
done
and
with?
stuff.
Are we done with the Bible? we should.
We're done with that part.
We should put the Bible down.
Yeah. We're done with that part. All right, so let's go back to Hugh Ross and let's just take a look at his thought on the abductions,
Do you
because
know where you want to go in minutes?
there's a huge, I think it's about 7 minutes, somewhere around there.
And
The closer the encounter that people have with UFOs,
Yes.
it's 100% deleterious. Nobody has a positive experience. And which is why I
Exactly.
believe it's the fallen angels that are responsible for this phenomena. And I think what I write about in the book is that you see a correlation between the degree of occult activity in an
Yes.
individual's life and their UFO experiences. And I end the book by saying this is scientifically testable. Close the doors to occult activity, that will be the end of these UFO experiences. The reverse is also true. If you open up these occult things, don't be surprised if you get these kinds of visits, and it's not going to be pleasant.
Well, so these are fallen angels.
I think that's
that just seems logical.
Yeah, it's not going to be pleasant. Like we're talking probes at this point.
Like Ford probes.
I think they stopped making those a while back.
Okay, bad probe joke. So right there's your science. It's science. If you are messing with occultic stuff, you win stupid prizes. Mm-hmm. If you want stupid prizes to go away, you stop messing with occultic stuff and it goes away.
Yeah.
And the fun thing that he opened up with, they're not positive experiences.
Right.
There's no one has been like, I got abducted and they took me to a land of gumdrops and candy canes.
Uh-huh.
That never happens.
Right. Which is different than people that supposedly trip on psychedelics.
Right.
The people supposedly that are doing the new psychedelic stuff to try and find some kind of clarity of spiritual thought, they seem to be visited by people that tell them like how to live life better and how to do good things, and they see fairies and elves, and they're being told, you know, how to help them live differently in their life and do good things, supposedly. So that's a little different experience. I don't know where that's heading. I don't know what kind of deception that is.
Well, they're lying to you. You went in search. Okay. So here's how I've read it and explained. These forces of darkness, they can't be everywhere. They're not like God. They're not able to be anywhere at any one time. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of them, and they all have been around for thousands of years, like since the Earth started. So they know, they've watched humans for thousands of years. They know our temptations. They know our weaknesses. They know Grandpa. If we're channeling Grandpa, they can tell you what happened with Grandpa. If you need a positive experience, you'll hear about a positive experience. If you're taking drugs and you're in this place because you want to have a fun time, to get you in, they'll dress up as a fun time.
Right.
That's where the deception, it's all, everything about it. There isn't anything about it that isn't deception.
Right.
From top to bottom, you are having a deceptive experience trying to please yourself.
Right. Right.
Except now aliens are just going to happen to everyone at one time.
Right. So, Brandon, when you were abducted, was yours positive?
Wait,
or-
were you abducted? I always laughed at that. Maybe I
No.
shouldn't.
I wasn't.
Okay. I thought that was a joke.
Maybe I was. I don't know.
Well, if you were, you might not remember it, because some people who are abducted do not remember their abductions.
You end up with a little scar on you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Do you have anything? Matter of fact, let me get a magnet and see if we can pull anything out from under your
Who
skin.
knows?
Well, that just means you got the shot.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's possible.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe some of my spiritual stuff. Maybe that was the aliens. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible, huh? So this brings me back to, we'll just throw this out here for a little bit. So when it comes to abductions and when it comes to the physical craft that we're supposedly seeing, could this all be government psyops trying to create? And I think what we're saying here is that there could be a little bit of everything going on here.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the book of Enoch, these watchers who came down, they taught men how to do some crazy stuff.
Well, that's where we learned how to work with metal. Mm-hmm. All of it. The pharmacy, the space, and the astrology and astronomy.
Right.
Yeah, they taught us all the deadly arts.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so if you look at that realm then, and then you go back to Deuteronomy chapter 32, specifically in verse 8, you see that at that time, at the giving of the nations, the separating of the nations, table of nations is in Genesis chapter 10, and then you have the story of Nimrod and the Tower of Babel in chapter 11. And so Deuteronomy 32:8 seems to take us right back to that portion when God separated the nations and he gave them their own portions. And it says he set gods over them, but Jacob was going to be his portion. So the idea of Deuteronomy 32:8 is that God took spiritual entities, lesser gods, and put them over to rule all the other nations, but God would rule over Jacob or Israel, God's people. So if that's the case, then these spirit beings have been working with powers, political powers, and people that rulers of the nations. They've been working with them for the last, how long? 4,000 years, 5,000 years, however long it's been since the table.
Well,
of
that's
Nations.
part of the conspiracy theory, right? Either that the powers of the earth, the rulers of the earth, have been working with them,
Right.
or they've been trying to contact them.
Right.
And that's in Ephesians, no? Right?
Yeah, Ephesians chapter 6. Yeah. The fact that we do not fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual forces in dark places. Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah. So I guess my thought is this, that there may be some physical phenomenon out there that these spiritual entities have helped leaders of nations to create. And some of that stuff that people are seeing is that. There could be the mix of, like you said, Ghostbusters, where it's just getting such an evil time that the entities are starting to cross dimensions and going, it's getting time.
Right.
That we're coming. We're coming for this
I mean,
big
that's
war.
what I personally believe.
Yeah. because there is going to be this great war, the Battle of Armageddon, and it's not going to just be humans against God. I think it's going to be the spiritual forces of darkness and humans against God and his army and his army of spiritual forces.
Yeah.
And his saints coming against them one day. And we could talk more about that in the thing. So then the abduction experiences, then, they could be a mix of everything too. They could be a mix of some demonic stuff, but they also could be a mix of like the whole MK Ultra thing. Mm-hmm. And so for those of people that don't know about MK Ultra, I don't know how much anybody's dove into that, but literally that was the United States back in the late 50s and 60s after the Korean War that they began doing covertly, undercover
Mind control.
mind control.
Yeah.
And they did it on people that volunteered as well as people who did not volunteer.
Well, and some say that we're living it now.
Yeah.
We're all we know is MK Ultra now.
Right. And so now, like, this is a little off topic, but you got to think to yourself. Like, I remember hearing stories of when my dad came back from Korea, that he would literally get so drunk that he would go into a corner and he would just put his hands over his head and just cry, or he would begin to scream, they're coming, and he would be trying to hide. And my mom used to say that she would literally hold his head till he would cry himself to sleep sometimes because of what he had seen over there in the war. But during that time of MK Ultra, there were reports of supposed brainwashing even in the military. And that's where that whole thing kind of started. And then we started doing it on United States soil. We started doing it to our own military. We started doing it to prisoners, supposedly, in prison. They said, okay, if you'll give me, a pack of cigarettes or what, I don't know. They made deals with them, and they volunteered. They have one guy, I think, I was reading a report here from the History Channel, where this one dude was a gangster, and he was in prison, and he tells his story of how when they were giving him this LSD and different stuff, how he was seeing all these hallucinations and how bad it was. So I guess my thought is this, that the abduction phenomenon, some of it could be demonic, but some of it could be that the government's playing with people. And what they think is an abduction of an alien is actually the government opening up doors and realms to them that they don't even know about.
So our friend Alex Jones, this is years and years ago, he said it could manifest itself in such a way that the government is planning to play like a big movie in the sky, so that we're all under this mind op. It's either going to be aliens, or he said it could be that they fake the second coming. Like the movie in the sky is Jesus coming back. And like we've said before, we have 3 groups waiting for him to return.
Right.
That's most of the population of the planet.
Right.
They play it out in the sky, and this is all part of that mind op to get that ready to go.
Right.
Because he was saying then that the technology's there to broadcast a thing in the sky and make it look real.
Right.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe all this stuff we're seeing is broadcasting from China, Russia, satellites. We have all these satellites up there doing stuff. What are they doing? Maybe this is all big,
Like what
psyop.
you're seeing?
Yeah. What if it's all big psyop?
TikTok.
You mean TikTok?
TikTok.
You mean the media site
media
TikTok?
thing?
No, the video.
TikTok.
You ever see that
The
video?
little white TikTok, right? That moves all over the place?
Well, yeah, they got it on film
Yeah, right.
by
Yeah.
the ocean.
Right.
It's pretty wild.
But why couldn't you make that as a movie and play it from the satellites? Like we have all this stuff up in space now that we don't even know what's up there. Like you and I have no clue what's up there. And what if those are big what do you want to say? Holographic
Right.
cameras,
Right.
right?
I mean, we have 2 twin towers that have been standing up until they finally got the real twin towers, right? Those holograms that were standing up for years.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so they made image of the right. No, so I mean, we don't know.
Right.
We threw a bomb into our own show.
Right.
We don't know.
And let's face it, the government has technologies that, like cloaking technologies.
Why are they all of a sudden on board now?
Right, exactly.
Why were they hiding it? Why would you put bodies in trunks to keep it a secret? And now all of a sudden Tucker Carlson's like, yeah, no, we got this now.
Yeah. And the CIA director is going to come out and talk about it this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
Could be weird.
I think what you said is that Timothy, when Paul wrote to Timothy in 1 Timothy chapter 3 or chapter 4, maybe it was. Let me just grab it real quick. I think this is why. I think the enemy knows his time has been short, but now it's time to kick it into overdrive. And I think that's what he is getting ready to do. It's 2 Timothy chapter 3. But realize this, that in the last days, difficult times will come. For men will be lovers of self, lovers of money, boastful, arrogant, revilers, disobedient to parents, ungrateful, unholy, unloving, irreconcilable, malicious gossips, without self-control, brutal, haters of good, treacherous, reckless, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, holding to a form of godliness, although they have denied its power. Avoid such men as these. For among them are those who enter into households and captivate weak women weighed down with sins, led on by various impulses, always learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. That's who we are today. We're people that are always learning, and we can't find truth anywhere. But we're always learning stuff. But this sin and this evil that's going on right now, I think the demonic realm has said, okay, it's time for us to take over now.
Right.
Ghostbusters.
Or
whatever.
or the government's playing a bunch of videos. Now, listen. So we got Bob says, what about the true movie Fire in the Sky? But I really think that was all made up. But they said it was true. I don't know what that's about. My dad said Luke 21:26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens shall be shaken.
Yep.
And then Northeast Naz, somehow we asked ourselves, when did these teachings from Enoch books say we were taught these things? What time frame? So that would have been from when Adam fell to Noah's Ark.
Yeah, that would be Enoch's time frame.
Right.
Somewhere around
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Or it could possibly have been written after the flood.
By Noah and his kids.
Well, by oral tradition, because
Right.
a lot of that
It
was
would have been
oral
carried
tradition.
with him. Yeah.
Because a lot of the Old Testament stuff was oral tradition,
Right.
Until they began to write on.
Yeah,
certain
I don't think we have found pre-flood Enoch writings.
Right. Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nor have we found flood
that's-
Genesis writings.
Okay. So the writings don't exist, but that's when it would have taken place.
Yes. Correct.
So the Watchers would have been here. They ate the apple, went out into the garden. Watchers are here.
Mm-hmm.
They're teaching us things that we're not supposed to learn,
Right.
and they're sleeping with earth women, making men of great renown
Yep. Giants.
and giants. The flood.
Mm-hmm.
That's simple timeline.
Yep. Flood happens. Then after the flood, you have Noah and his 3 sons, who probably through oral tradition continued to pass down all of these things. And for whatever reason back then, they had more oxygen, so their brain was able to memorize this stuff. And so they kept this stuff.
Kent Hovind.
Yeah, Kent Hovind. And then eventually, Moses, after he comes out of Egypt, people believe that he writes Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy.
He wrote down all the oral tradition.
And somewhere in that time frame too, you begin to get these Enochian writings too, and where they come from exactly, we don't know.
Right.
And we don't even really know that Moses wrote the first 5 books, but we got scholars have a pretty good idea he did.
And then lastly, my dad says it's demonic. In 1944, Operation Paperclip, our government brought Nazi scientists here to tap into all this evil stuff. And this goes back to Hitler. This goes Obama. Okay, it's no coincidence that Obama went to is in Nuremberg, where supposedly the bowl, which was Baal, where they burned the children at Nineveh,
Okay.
is at.
Okay.
And he gave a speech in front of it. These powers that be, this stuff is symbolism to them, going back to worshiping the devil.
Right.
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 And Hitler was. All these people were. That's why do you think Indiana Jones exists?
Right.
Like there was a whole just we're rabbit trailing, but there was a whole movement reopening of Satanism in the late 1800s, about the time there was the explosion of industrialization, right? And so you just where you get your Helena Blavatsky and you have your Polk and all these guys with the Masonic stuff. That it totally exploded, and then the world powers were going out and looking for the things of the Bible, like the sculpture with Baal and the bull, and the Ark of the Covenant, and they it's like, okay, let's go get this stuff, right? So because they knew or they know or they seek the power that these heavenly forces bring here to earth, right? And now we're seeing them come to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do,
And it's not going to be good.
No,
They're
it's not
going to
gonna
be
be
good.
I would like to continue to run down some of this trail because there's more scripture text that we can deal with in the coming episodes here in the next couple weeks. And then I'd like us to begin to transition into some studies on spiritual warfare. Because I think if there's ever a time, and Brandon and I have talked about this, if there's ever a time to begin helping people see, not only is the spiritual realm real, but the other side wants to destroy your life. And the reason why your life is the way it is many times is because you are allowing yourself to be ruled by the demonic forces instead of letting Jesus be king in your life. And if people can start to get a handle on that and get free from that stuff, I think we can see, number one, Christians start to live the way God had called them to live. But number two, I think we're going to prevent a lot of people from being deceived in the end times. And I think it's coming sooner than later. And this end time deception is upon us. And just the fact, like, I know that they could come out, like, they could be hyping this whole thing up because of the whole race thing and the COVID thing. So now all of a sudden they want to transition to the UFO thing, and they're thinking, well, this is a good thing to start. And the CIA director this coming week could come out and pretty much tell us nothing. And then it could play out for another 6 months or another year, and then all of a sudden they could hype it back up again. But I'm telling you that if they are looking at this with such seriousness now, and they have credible people saying these things exist, something is about to come out.
That's what I'm saying. And they're not looking at it now. They're letting it out now.
Yeah, right,
They've been looking at it for a long time.
Right.
And I think it was that World War II time period. The Indiana Jones, to get a mind handle on it, it's the Indiana Jones thing. Like, the Nazis are also running around Egypt trying to find artifacts.
Right.
I think
Of
Hitler
power.
was trying to make a Nazi bell. Did you ever see that? It was a craft. He was trying to make, like, basically an alien craft, but they called it, like, the Nazi bell.
Okay.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I wouldn't doubt it. Like, these are the things, like, those crazy Germans, there was nothing they didn't want to get a handle on. Rockets, planes, jet engines, why not spiritual forces? Right? And it's the same thing we're doing now. Like, we've continued to do them, the Catholic Church and the telescope. We behind the scenes, unbeknownst to us, while we were at Walmart getting our lunch meat, they were building and looking for, people have not stopped searching for the dark power.
No, you're right. Yeah, the movies are just they're literally
snapshot.
It is of that world that exists.
Alex Jones says they're priming your mind.
I agree.
They're getting you ready to accept it.
I agree.
And show you what they're doing.
Right.
Okay, so this would be a good time because I've always wondered this. He always says that there's a metaphysical principle that they must tell you what they're going to do to you. Do you know if that exists? Like, you don't read it in the Bible, but he's like, God has it laid down. They have to tell you what's going to happen to you. Can you extrapolate that from Job?
No, because Job was not told what was going to happen to him. Satan had to go before God and ask God and get permission.
Yeah.
But Job was never let in on it.
Yeah.
Until the end, God finally brought Job to a place of humility where Job said, "Oh man, I'm an idiot. But I totally missed the boat here."
Right. Okay.
But no, I don't see anywhere in scriptures where the demonic realm has to let us know before they do something.
Well, he says it's a guiding principle of the universe because it's like clockwork that they do it. And movies have been a big place where they show you what's going on in their world.
Yeah.
And that's telling you what's happening or what's coming or what they're doing.
Yeah.
And how many times do you see movies of things and then boom, it exists?
Well, it might be a guiding principle, but the principle might be because Satan is not omnipresent like God is.
Yeah.
So Satan, even though he has all these minions, he can't know everything. So I think just like humans who are highly advanced and intelligent, they still have to have control groups and they have to test all this stuff to get ready. And I think if anything, that's why Satan in the demonic realm is through human faculties. They're testing these things out.
Right.
So they're kind of telling us what we're doing to prep us and get us ready to see where we're at. And then when it's time, they're in.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. That's possible.
No, yeah, or at least just to prime your mind so it's not such a shock value.
Right.
Like you're just like, oh yeah, I saw this once.
Because didn't Satan have a conversation with Eve before she actually ate the fruit?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. In the tempting.
it's not like he just walked up and said, "Here, eat this fruit."
Shoved it in her face.
Yeah. He convinced her to
take it.
to doubt God. That's not what God said. You're not going to surely die. Matter of fact, God knows. Then he started to lie to her about what God knows. He says, God knows that when you eat of that, you'll be like him, and your eyes will be open, and you'll know good and evil. And then she saw that the fruit was good for food, that it was pleasing to the eye, and so she took it and she ate. And it also would give her wisdom. And then she took it and she ate, and then she gave to Adam, and he also ate. So Satan set her up to take the fall like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Good stuff.
all right. So what's the end game here look like? And so we'll just kind of close out today with this idea, and then next Friday we'll dig a little deeper into this stuff because maybe we'll even have reports and see what the government's trying to say about this stuff by next week.
Or it'll be like the document dump.
Yeah.
Where
Trump opened up all these documents and they had nothing.
Redacted.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and then I would like to kind of peruse the scriptures a little more too and look more into this whole spiritual realm stuff and see what's going on. And then, like I said, in the coming months, I'd like to start really talking about spiritual warfare. Because at the end of the day, when you think about a Christian or even a non-Christian, whether a non-Christian wants to believe it or not, the spiritual realm is interacting with us and influencing us on a regular basis. And if you don't know how to deal with that, if you don't know how to, make a difference, you're going to be in big trouble. So, any thoughts, Brandon, before we take off?
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
All right.
We tackled some stuff today.
We did. So here's what I say to our group out there watching. Tell your friends, because next week it could even get more weird.
More weird-ish.
Yeah. And watch next Friday at 10.
And it isn't just getting weird on the show.
Right.
In reality.
Right.
If you want to hear some talk about what's happening in reality, come here next week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. Because we're going to have Alex Jones on.
No, we can't.
Oh, we can't.
No, he has his own gig.
Gotcha. So is it weird that every time I try to contact people, they never get back with me? Like I did Heiser, he didn't get back with me.
Right.
So then I
Maybe
try to
he's
get
busy.
I try to get a hold of this Stephen Bankraz or something like that.
Okay.
Bankraz, because he was a guy that's been on Heiser's show and different shows now. He was in the occult, and he actually was making.
He's even too good for us.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
he was making $40,000 a month teaching occult stuff on YouTube. He had his own video. He was teaching
Like
people
how to be involved in the occult.
how to meditate and how to get into how to open himself up to the other realms and stuff like that. And then finally he came to a place where he had an experience with Christ and he got saved. So now he's supposedly, and I say supposedly meaning that, yeah, obviously you don't know anybody until you know them.
Right.
But he's teaching the gospel now and on the YouTube, making money still probably because he's got tons of followers now. But he's making money now teaching people the gospel and how to get out of that occult or stay away from it. And so I figured I would shoot him a iMessage or a message through Facebook. He never responded to me.
You got to keep trying.
He's probably buying who's that televangelist that needed a new airplane?
Kenneth Copeland?
Yeah, he's probably buying Kenneth Copeland's old airplane.
Yeah. He probably is.
He's stepping up.
Yeah. And Jesse Duplantis.
I'm making way more money peddling Christ than I was peddling the devil. This is ironic.
He probably is, actually.
No, probably.
Yeah.
You're good.
That's good. And I just realized this, too, that churches who have YouTube accounts and have, like, hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff, they got to be pulling in some serious
Coinage.
cash.
Yeah. Listen, that brings up our new guiding principle
Yeah.
in Used Car Dealers 17. If you make money on Dogecoin, you have to give the church 20%.
20%.
Or any stock, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you didn't work for it, right?
Right.
Was
right.
that what you said the principle
Yeah,
was?
the principle is if you don't work for it, it's 20%.
And then you're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, then you're good. And if the aliens do show up, they shouldn't come after you.
No, they'll go after the guy who only gave 18%.
Yes, 18. All right, you guys have a great week, and take a look at this stuff. Don't forget, Uneducated, Dedicated channel. We'll send a link out. Can we do that before we go?
Like right now?
Yeah, could we pull that live? Can we do that live? Send it out for them so they can have that. I just got to go.
Oh, you have a Heiser video. You had a lot you wanted to do.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to talk about some stuff on him too, but we didn't get there. We can leave it open though. I did find out this week that once you open up a website, there's no more interaction between the website and you, so you can leave them open and not fear that anybody's going to hack into your stuff. Is that true, do you think?
I didn't know that ever was a thing.
I had this fear that if you left your internet on like a channel, someone could somehow figure out a way to hack
No,
in.
if you leave your computer on.
Period?
Yeah. Okay, here it is on the television, people. How do we know the address?
Just go up. So click on that. Click that on.
All right, I
Yep.
did. It's here.
Oh, go to your channel. I'm sorry. Go to your channel. See that? Yeah. So that's our channel. Now go up.
Go ahead.
Go,
You finish out.
oh, you got to turn that off.
Well, we got an error.
Right there.
Ah! Hold on. Wait for me.
Okay. So go all the way up to the URL and just copy that URL link, and then we'll throw it in our feeds at Facebook and stuff. We can just make a comment on Facebook and on YouTube.
Okay.
We can actually go to our church Facebook, right, and put that link there.
I'm putting it right now in the link will be in the comments. There is on YouTube, but do the comments stick around in YouTube?
I think so.
Yeah.
And now it's going out on Facebook.
Our carpet cleaner for our house is coming. It's supposed to be here June 5th.
What kind did you get?
It is, I'll tell you in just a second. It is a pet and shampoo. It's a Bissell Turbo Clean Power Brush Pet Upright Carpet Cleaner Machine and Carpet Shampooer. That's a large name.
How much for that one?
It was only $98, dude.
Yeah, we got one. Same thing. $100.
Does it work? Yeah? This one's supposed to suck, and I don't mean in a bad way.
This one really sucks.
I mean, look at the picture. Are we online? Can
What
I
was
show
that?
this picture?
Do you still have that thing, that Floby?
My mom had that. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it sucks and it cuts.
Here, put your phone up.
This truly does suck. Look at that.
All right, hold still. Hold still. This is pixely. Back up. Back up. Back up. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. We don't know how to use our own equipment.
But every purchase of a Bissell saves a pet, just so you know. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know how it saves a pet.
Hey,
Maybe
you better
because
run out and buy 2 of them and save my 2 dogs.
Oh, okay. Well, here's what I'm thinking the way it saves a pet is not because they donate money to help support pets. It's because if your pet pees on your carpet, now instead of killing
That's
it, you
why I
go,
said.
I got a Bissell to clean it up. Not a Bissell, but a Bissell to clean it up.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. You better go buy 2 if you want to save 2 little chihuahua.
Yeah,
babies.
right,
Yeah.
right. That's good. Yeah. So we should have much cleaner carpets. That way when I do my yoga, I won't have to smell weird stuff on the floor.
All right.
Maybe we should talk about yoga one day.
Have we Have we over exhausted our stay?
Probably. Those links are on now.
Yep, they're there.
So yeah, so go to those links and get connected to our dedicated Uneducated channel, because eventually here in the next few weeks we're going to be transitioning over. So if you're stuck on the church channel for Uneducated on Fridays and you're not getting the notifications, then you won't see our channel come. I mean, you won't see our shows come up. So make sure you make that switch here in the next couple
Well,
weeks.
I would say for at least, what do you want to say, for like a month, we'll simultaneously run.
Yeah.
And we'll keep promoting this. So
Yeah.
if you miss it today,
Right.
you'll hear it again.
Yeah. Right.
We'll get all 75 of you over there.
Yeah, and the other 146,000 that want to get on there.
Right. Well, they're actually, when you get to the new room, you'll see all the other people.
Yeah, right. We've been hiding them from you, and we're getting ready to disclose the large following that we have.
Yeah. It's now time for you to know.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Have a great week.
Peace. Peace.
Literally, peace.
Go ahead.
You
Finish out your thought.
Well, we got an error report.